www.whcr.org.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Against their sisters and brothers, yes. That is not the way that it's supposed to be. No, no. We were meant to live in peace and harmony. There are so many old moons and skies keeping us apart. It's time for healing inside of you and me. Healing through us. Oh yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience. I'm Maurice Selby.
And this is Sean Shivers.
And you're listening to the one and only Health in Harlem on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York. And ladies and gentlemen, I know you're wondering where that other voice of ours that accompanies Sean and mine, and she could not make it. Ayanna Cole, our co-host, could not be with us tonight. She is okay, studying very hard for an exam that she has coming up. And we want her to do exceedingly well.
You just switched up the whole routine. I didn't get to say.
I know.
Thank you.
All right. The voice of Harlem.
It's all good.
Oh, man. But yes, Ayanna could not make it, and she is going to do very well on that exam. But we're going to keep her in our prayers. Yep. But nonetheless, we still have the show. It's going to go on. And we have with us one of our favorite guests, actually.
The Reverend.
Yes. We have Dr. Joan Culpepper Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. She is the chief of gastroenterology at Harlem Hospital Center. And tonight we will be discussing the evils of high fructose corn syrup.
Oh, that's right.
Welcome back to the program. And you survived the storm.
I survived the storm, and I'm here. Great to be here with you, Maurice, and Sean again.
Excellent. And I could just imagine, man, all of the high fructose corn syrup people might have been eating when they couldn't go out this past weekend. They just sat inside. Huh?
I don't think it's that much.
I don't know, man. I look at almost every label.
There's a lot of labels that I see on there that say no high fructose corn
That's
syrup.
right.
That's a good thing.
And a whole lot more.
That's right. More. People are hearing the gospel.
That's what's up. And we're going to get that gospel out there again, ladies and gentlemen, for you tonight, so that you too can make wiser decisions when you in terms of what you put into your body. So welcome back.
Thank you.
And let's jump right into the topic. Now, what is this substance? If we can just start from the basics. What is high fructose corn syrup? Why is it so dangerous?
All right. Well, let's.
Why is it evil?
Let's talk about why it's the devil.
Devil.
That's the devil in your diet.
666.
There we go. We go. Well, we have a national problem of obesity. So I think we need to start there because why high fructose corn syrup is important is because of how it has caused us to become obese. It's estimated that by 2034 that all African American women will be obese. Can you imagine?
What? Wait, all?
All. That's the trajectory.
That's a term that we don't. I've never, in terms of medicine, yeah.
That's right.
When you take exams, they say
never say never.
Yeah, never say never, and you never say all. It's just there's no absolutes, but this is to me astounding saying that.
That's the trajectory. So obesity in this country affects communities of color, in particular African Americans, disproportionately. It's a disparity, disproportionately to the rest of the country. And of course, it's also associated with what we call the metabolic syndrome, which means obesity affecting other organs. Okay, your kidneys, your kidney disease, your hypertension, your fatty liver, and of course your diabetes. And the main reason that we have obesity and diabetes is due to our overconsumption of sugar. Okay.
So you're attributing, and Dr. Culpepper Morgan is an expert, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why we really need to tune in. So you're attributing pretty much the vast majority of the obesity and diabetes that we see in this country, devastating illnesses,
Right.
to this particular substance, high fructose corn syrup.
Right. So let me take you through it. So there's a history. There's a history there, and the question is, what is high fructose corn syrup? Well, high fructose corn syrup came to us by way of everything's got politics associated with it. Okay. So let's go back to the Nixon and Ford administration, and let's go back to the Secretary of Agriculture, Earl Butz. I don't know how many of you know about Earl Butz, but Earl Butz was a racist and a good old boy, and he and I say that's public record. He actually had to give up his office because he said some very terrible things, and they said, no, you have to go. But before he left, Earl Butz decided, and he was a good old Indiana boy, that he was going to do very good by the corn farmers, okay? And he cut the corn farmers, and I am going to use a pun, a sweet deal. Okay, so that the corn farmers got the biggest subsidies of any farmers. So and all of you all out there Googling and looking stuff up, you can look up farm subsidies, and you will see that the corn farmers have the biggest subsidy. So why is that important? Well, the corn farmers went to Secretary Butz and said, we're drowning here. We got too much corn. We don't know what we can do with it. But we have this substance. We have this sweet substance that's called high fructose corn syrup, and we think this can save us. So what Secretary Butz did said, that's great. We're going to substitute high fructose corn syrup for cane sugar. And those of you who are old enough, and none of these gentlemen here with me are old enough to remember, but Coca-Cola changed their formula somewhere in 1985. 85, 86.
Was that the new Coke?
That was the new Coke.
Yes, I was young.
Okay. All right, we're not going to tell any tales out of school about how old people are. But anyway, so the new Coke came, and that was the change. That was the change in the secret formula. They took out good old cane sugar, and they added high fructose corn syrup instead. Now, that had a lot of economic ramifications. It devastated the economies of the Caribbean, all of my Caribbean folks out there. I think you all will testify to the fact that the sugar mills down there, they're rusting. They don't function anymore because America stopped importing sugar in favor of high fructose corn syrup. So when I say that our obesity can be traced back to that, we were getting fatter on a slow rate in this country because we were drinking a fair amount of soda. But when we switched to high fructose corn syrup in 1976, the trajectory went up at least tenfold. So we got fatter faster with this sugar substitute. So what I want people to understand is that if you look back, you'll realize that this generation is a lot fatter than previous generations. And this is not because we're lazier, and it's not because we really eat more. It's because our diets were changed without us knowing it. And this substance was added to everything that we consume that had regular sugar in it. And so people will say, well, why should that make a difference? Well, that's because high fructose corn syrup is a Franken sugar. It's Frankenstein of sugars.
Sugar on steroids.
Basically.
That's right. It is 6 times sweeter. It is not regulated by the body the way regular sugar is regulated.
Is it really sugar?
That's a good
I'm thinking
question.
about, is it really sugar?
It really is sugar, okay? So for the chemists out there, there's fructose.
Fructose there.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of fructoses linked together. But that combination seems to make the sugar just incredibly sweet, and the body doesn't know what to do with it. The body's like, what is this? So if you consume regular sugar, your body is going to say, I've had too much. Okay, those of you who remember your mother and your grandmother used to tell you, don't drink that Kool-Aid for your dinner. You're going to ruin your appetite. And sure enough, you had that big glass of Kool-Aid before dinner. You didn't eat. That's because the message went to your brain that said,
You're full.
I'm full. I had about 200-300 calories. I'm full. That doesn't happen when you consume that same Kool-Aid made with high fructose corn syrup, or any kind of soft drink made with high fructose corn syrup. So there's no feedback. So there's no stopping. So you will drink that same drink with that same 200 calories, and then you'll go ahead and eat your full dinner. Okay, so that's 200 extra calories right there.
Wow.
So, yeah. So high fructose corn syrup, which is made from corn. Now, you might say, well, why was the food industry so happy to jump on this bandwagon?
Yes.
The high fructose corn syrup bandwagon. Well, high fructose corn syrup, not only is it sweet, but it's liquid.
And it's cheap. Right?
And it's
And
cheap.
Cheap.
So it mixes really well. So again,
Water
and
soluble, mixes into the food. Yep.
So I hate to talk about, Kool-Aid, but fond memories with Kool-Aid. I don't know if any of y'all have fond memories coming in.
I love Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Want to come in, make the Kool-Aid after running around outside, But then you always have to stir it. You just had to keep stirring it, because the sugar just kept falling to the bottom.
Correct.
You make that stuff with high fructose corn syrup, you don't have to stir anything.
It just mixes right in.
Mixes right in. It's beautiful. It's sweet. It tastes great. So don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying it tastes bad. It tastes wonderful. Pancake syrup. Look on the label. Pure high fructose corn syrup. Tasty. It's real good.
Very.
Real good. But all of these things that we're consuming, of all of them, the worst is the consumption of sodas, of soft drinks. In the United States, we consume more soft drinks than any other country on the planet. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And you can see it everywhere in terms of the advertisements. Like, we got the Super Bowl coming up, and I see the deals, all of the sales on soda, and you can rack up on that stuff.
That's right.
Wow.
And the only country that's coming in giving us some competition is Mexico. Mexico loves their Coca-Cola. That should be, it's almost like a national drink. So, yes.
But that is true about Coke, because if you look at, halftime or any type of major event, or at the stadium, whatever, there's always Coke. You always got Coke or Pepsi there. Coke right there.
True story. Yeah. The evils of high fructose corn syrup, ladies and gentlemen, we got more for you. And we ask that you stay tuned. We are going to take a break right now. You can call us at 212-650-6903. That is 212-650-6903. You can also hit us up on Facebook with any questions, comments, or concerns. We will be right back. Stay with us.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll rope it up,
Cause we know how to jump.
we'll roll it out,
We know how to skate.
we'll cut it down,
We know what to eat.
we'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day. That's We Can, a message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
The Stanley Mirsky MD Educational Unit of the Mount Sinai Diabetes Center presents free diabetes education classes. Learn how to manage your diabetes and enjoy a better quality of life. Invite your friends and family to help you reach your goals. Prevent, control, thrive. Classes are Monday evenings at 6 p.m. and Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. All classes are held at the CAM building, located at 17 East 102nd Street, between Madison and 5th Avenue. Classes are free, but you must register. To register, call 212-241-3422, option number 4.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Broken homes and families struggle to survive. Children of abuse fight to stay up.
Welcome back to Health in Harlem, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Maurice Selby.
This is Sean Shivers.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us from Harlem Hospital Center, we have Dr. Joan Culpepper Morgan. She is the chief of gastroenterology at Harlem Hospital Center, and we're talking about the dangers of high fructose corn syrup. The devil, as she puts it.
Diet.
The devil in your diet. I love it. I love that statement, but not high fructose corn syrup.
There we go.
To be clear, right? To be totally clear. So, ladies and gentlemen, we started talking about this substance, everything from the history of it, which this was basically a way to save the corn industry in this country because
That's
of
right.
the surplus in corn in the 60s and 70s. And this was seen as a salvation for them because they were able to take corn or this excess corn and turn it into this substance. Frankensugar. Excellent. I love it. And basically, now it's been responsible, as Dr. Culpepper Morgan said, for the significant increase in the rates of obesity and diabetes in this country. And I guess with that, we can also say the ramifications of that stuff, which is the cardiovascular disease,
hypertension, the diabetes, all of it can be traced back. The rate of increase can be traced back to that substance entering the food system.
So
Can I ask a quick question real quick?
Sure.
Because I'm just thinking about back in the days when I was young, they had the government cheese and the flour and the sugar.
Right.
Was that sugar high fructose corn syrup?
I think
or-
that was regular sugar,
Regular sugar, okay, I
at,
just
the
wanna make
at the
sure.
time.
Okay,
At the time.
gotcha.
So I think that we can all look at these changes as occurring late 70s, early 80s. And this is where you see the rate of rise of obesity in this country. And now you see obese toddlers. You see, you definitely see obese children and adolescents, but you see obese toddlers.
obese neonates, newborns
Right.
coming out because mom is consuming this substance and it's going right to the fetus.
Exactly.
And they're coming out huge babies.
And people say, well, don't talk about conspiracy, but we need to understand that the taste preferences of African Americans have been studied, and the food industry knows the preference for things that are sweet and things that are salty. And there's no mistake as to why, when you look in our stores, in our neighborhoods, that we have foods that are not really foods, but are fake foods that are sweetened with fake substances whose sole purpose is to make us consume more of those substances. So they are, in a way, I don't want to use the word addicting, but they're reinforcing. They make you want to eat them again. The whole potato chip phenomena. Bet you can't eat just one. You can't.
True story.
That is true.
There's a reason for that.
So when we look at, let's go back, because the physiology of this fascinates me. And I think the more people know about it, how this stuff is functioning in the body, in contrast to other sugars or more natural sugars, I think then we can really understand what's happening and make better decisions. So as far as high fructose corn syrup and natural sugar, I know you said that one, our satiety, right? We don't get
Correct.
those signals in our bodies or those release of the hormones that tell us, look, you're full, you've had enough in terms of your caloric intake. But are there any other changes or differences between natural sugar versus high fructose corn syrup?
The other is the way the body stores it. The body continues to make fat within the liver. The body can only use a certain amount of fuel, and sugar is a fuel. And if you have too much of this fuel, the body says, well, what am I going to do with all of this? Well, I will make fat. And this is how people develop fatty liver. Now, I'm a gastroenterologist, and so that's one of the areas that I have a lot of interest in terms of the effect of sugar on the body. That doesn't get as much play as, say, diabetes and hypertension, which is so much more common. But people don't realize that you cannot ever touch a drop of alcohol but consume enough sugar so that you develop cirrhosis of the liver,
heard of that before.
Just like you're an alcoholic, because you develop fatty liver. And people will say, how is that possible? That's because your liver has a limit to the amount of sugar that it can handle. And all of a sudden you get fat, you get too much fat, you damage your liver, and you get cirrhosis, and you'll say, how did this happen when I don't drink? So the ramifications of the consumption of too much sugar, number one, and I don't want people to think that they can go out and consume a whole 5-pound bag of regular sugar and that they'll be okay. That's not what I'm saying, because too much of any sugar is bad. But with high fructose corn syrup, you are consuming more sugar than you know about without even being aware of. It's in everything. It's in bread. It's in, as I said, it's in ketchup.
It's in quote unquote natural quote unquote healthy foods,
right? That
you think are bread, like whole wheat, whole grain, and whole wheat. All of these things that people think, oh, this is good for me. This is I'm doing better in terms of my intake of natural foods. But this substance in there that's not so natural.
Can I ask a quick question? This is diabetes now. We had Dr. Truesdale on the show a while ago, and I want to make sure I'm saying this right. A diabetic, the glucose is floating around in the bloodstream, and the body is unable to break it down.
Correct.
So now the question that I have when it comes to this high fructose corn syrup is that sugar or glucose, whatever, floating around in our bodies, and we're not diabetic, and the body is unable to break it down? Is that a similar analogy, or
it's part of the same spectrum? I think that when you talk to an endocrinologist like Dr. Truesdale, she's dealing with patients who have gotten to the point where the body has lost its ability to respond to insulin. So insulin is the hormone that has to work to move the sugar into the cells to allow the cells to actually process the sugar to make energy, all of those things. And you go through a stage when you saturate the body with sugar like you do with high fructose corn syrup. You actually go through a stage where you have more insulin than normal people. So you become what we call hyperinsulinemic, and that's actually a pre-diabetic stage. So many of us who are consuming large amounts of high fructose corn syrup, we are pre-diabetic because our bodies are working overtime to try to metabolize the Franken sugar. Okay, and eventually the body is like, I can't do this anymore, and we're done, and we're failing, and then we become frankly diabetic when we can't really make any more insulin, or we can't respond properly to the insulin that we're making, and that's insulin resistance is a key part of diabetes. But what I'm trying to say is that we're beating up on ourselves, beating up on our pancreas, which produces that insulin, and sometimes we don't even know it. I mean, when you guys look at bread, the food industry has to list ingredients in the order in which they occur in the substance.
So the content.
The content, right.
Mm-hmm.
So, after flour in the bread is the sugar.
I'd usually see that's true. Yep.
It's number 2.
Number 2 on the ingredients.
It's bread. It's not cake.
So they're dumping this stuff in there.
It's a tremendous amount. So you may think, I know there are folks out there saying, "Well, I don't drink soda, so I'm good." No, you're not good. Ketchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
bread.
like if you look on McDonald's or you look at McDonald's ketchup pack, it says tomatoes, high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, immediately after the
it's
next
number
ingredient.
2. Yeah, so
it's in ketchup. That's right. I remember seeing it on there. So
right.
everything, and this is something that, because after we had our first show talking about this topic, I really, and even before that, I was a little conscious about it. But after talking with Dr. Culpepper Morgan, I've really been, feel like very good. I'm giving myself a pat on the back.
There you go,
ladies and gentlemen. But I've cut this out totally, and to the point where I go. I went to Shake Shack this week, and I was like, well, looks like I got to put mustard on this burger because I am not, I'm serious, but I could not use the ketchup because in their ketchup packets and most, I'm not going to call out any,
but most restaurants that are not, and mind you now, all of the food industry, they realize that people are now, people don't want to consume high fructose corn syrup. Right. So this show is very important because we have to get, Harlem has to get on that bandwagon and refusing to consume these products that have high fructose corn syrup. So the ketchup makers, they make a version of their product that's sweetened with regular sugar. So if you look around, you can make a choice. The choices are there. So you have to vote with your pocketbook. You have to vote with your pocketbook and say, well, I'm not gonna choose the one with the high fructose corn syrup. I'm gonna choose the one that's sweetened with regular sugar. And then your grocer is gonna make a simple choice. Right. They're going to stop buying
because nobody will be buying that product.
So, I realized that a lot of products that used to have high fructose corn syrup, it now just says regular corn syrup. What's the difference? Is there a difference?
There is a difference. Regular corn syrup is really not. It's not a Franken syrup. High fructose corn syrup goes through a lot of chemical changes in order to bind all of those fructose molecules together. And regular corn syrup, I believe, is just a simple distillation, and it's been around for a number of years. So it's not quite as sweet as high fructose corn syrup. One of the other things I wanted to mention about high fructose corn syrup, which I think is very important, though, before I forget, is that high fructose corn syrup extends the shelf life of foods. Okay, and they always talk about that like it's a good thing. They always try to convince us, okay, I'm going to make the bread, I'm going to put the high fructose corn syrup, and you'll be able to keep that bread for a month. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a good thing. Okay? If the mold in the air will not eat your bread.
Hold on.
Okay, follow me now.
Hysterical.
Follow me now. If the mold in the air will not eat your bread, it is not a real food.
Yeah, that is hysterical. I get it.
Okay.
It doesn't become more clear to that, I don't think.
So I want people to rethink shelf life of food. You don't want food that lasts forever. I'm telling you, if your food can go bad, if it can get moldy, if it can attract vermin, okay, then it's good food. If you are competing with the little animals of our environment trying to eat your stuff, it's good food.
Right.
If you put something out there and a mouse won't eat it.
We got issues
like,
right
nah,
now.
you can keep that. You can add that one.
Yeah, we got issues.
But it's so true, though.
But you know, so funny
That is
that's the
wild.
Culpepper Morgan before we go into break is that when I'm at the supermarket, you always pop up in my head because there's something that I want to grab off that shelf and it says high fructose corn. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Now put it back. You know?
Yeah, man. No, but that's what needs to happen. This substance, especially here in Harlem, because you look in places in the inner city neighborhoods like this, where unfortunately, because people are still buying it, it's still on the shelf, and there's no option sometimes, which sucks. Like you said, you had to put that back because you were like, look, well, I can't.
I just do it out.
Yeah.
Right. And
For real.
we have to start cooking more. Make your
actually,
own.
I can't say that. Sometimes I do it that, but there's sometimes I think about. You said every now and then you got to treat yourself once in a while.
Right.
But I
All
can
right.
talk about that
Next segment. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Health in Harlem on WHCR 90.3 FM New York. We are going to take another break. Remember, you can call us at 212-650-6903, especially if you want to talk about how you've cut out high fructose corn syrup in your diet, or if you have any questions about this substance. Once again, that is 212-650-6903. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
If you know the symptoms and get the facts, you'll know the signs of a heart attack. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if it sounds familiar, call 911.
Pain in your neck, chest,
Arms or jaw,
shortness of breath.
please tell us more. Cold sweats and nausea, tiredness,
It's time to take it
serious. Back pain, stomach pain, shortness of breath, cold sweats, nausea, dizziness. If you know the symptoms and heed the signs, you'll be around for a long, long time. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if any sound familiar, call 911.
Learn a song that could save your life. Get a free download at womenshealth.gov/heartattack.
Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if any sound familiar, call 911. If any sound familiar, call 911.
A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
911.
Hi, I'm Vinny B of the Vinny B Showcase. Tune in every Thursday from 8 to 12 midnight for some solid cultural roots music and some sweet lovers rock. Also, informative interviews and giveaways. Right here on the Vinny B Showcase every Thursday, 8 through 12 midnight on WHCR 90.3 FM. Peace.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
of ignorance and hate has infected people of all faiths and colors, poison them against their sisters and brothers, yeah.
Welcome back to Health in Harlem, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Maurice Selby.
And this is Sean Shivers.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Dr. Joan Culpepper Morgan. She is the chief of gastroenterology at Harlem Hospital Center, and we're talking about high fructose corn syrup tonight. Before we get back to our conversation, though, I want to announce that Harlem Hospital Center's Farmers Market is still in effect, ladies and gentlemen, every Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Once again, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Harlem Hospital Center's Farmers Market is open. They are located at Lenox Avenue between 135th and 137th Streets, right there in front of the hospital. And you can go there. This is hosted by Harvest Home, and you can go there and purchase fresh fruits and vegetables from local farmers in New York State. Definitely a wonderful opportunity, and it will be a decent day out tomorrow from what I understand. Right. So get out there and get your fresh fruits, vegetables, your not high fructose corn syrup laden honeys and sweeteners,
Your natural
all of this
sweeteners.
stuff, your natural let's say that word again, natural, like truly natural sweeteners. So definitely get out there, and they accept everything from WIC coupons, senior FMNP coupons, Health Bucks, SNAP, EBT, debit and credit cards, and even cash. So whatever you have on you, they'll probably take it so that you can get your fresh fruits and vegetables. For real, man.
Real food.
Real food. And that is a good segue into our next topic on the program. Now, we said that one of the reasons why this has been so popular and people have been consuming it ad nauseum, we would say, the cost. In terms of decreasing the cost of food, the decreased, production costs,
right,
which then translates into decreased costs on the shelf, the increased shelf life as well. So this can be something difficult in terms of individuals across all socioeconomic statuses paying for this. If you choose not to consume this substance, it can be a challenge.
Absolutely. Good food. Real food tends to be more expensive. And farmers markets are great because, you're buying directly from the farmer, so it tends to be a lot cheaper. And I think a lot of people will tell you, I can't afford to eat fresh food. I can't afford to eat real food. And when I say real food, I mean prepackaged, pre-processed food. The food companies, big agriculture is a dangerous business, and big agriculture has made it so that you are dependent on them for food preparation instead of preparing it yourself. And they've made it so expensive for you to get fresh fruits and vegetables so that it's prohibitive for a lot of the people in our community. There's a book that's called In Defense of Food, and on the cover it says, "Eat food, not too much, mostly plants." And what does that mean? It means don't eat a lot of food, period. But when you eat a lot of plants, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and they should be fresh, and you should prepare them yourselves. But, getting back to when Sean was saying, well, sometimes you have to treat yourself. Treating yourself is good. But guess what? Treating yourself could be making your own sweet potato pie with your own sugar.
That sounds good.
And honey or real maple syrup or whatever you put in there to sweeten it, instead of buying somebody else's sweet potato pie, which is sweetened with Franken sugar. I mean, you just, these are the choices that we can make, but we don't cook as much as we used to.
I want some pie now.
For real.
Right, I want some pie right now.
For real. So another thing too, though, is the time that it takes to prepare things.
Right.
Which even now, as a resident physician, extremely dense schedule in terms of, and I have to be really good at time management. So preparing my own sweet potato pie logistically can be very, very tough. In addition to costs, considering costs. So, there we go. Call me. All right, I like it. But as far as alternative sweeteners, and this is a little bit of a side subject regarding this topic, but what about these things that are out there, some of these artificial sweeteners? What is your opinion on that?
The artificial sweeteners, I think, are the lesser of two evils. People often ask that question. It's like, well, what should I do? Because I've heard issues about artificial sweeteners. Don't be fooled, people. The issues that you hear are coming from the high fructose corn syrup people because they don't want you to switch. That's number one. Number two is that there really hasn't been a lot of data out there to say that these things are harmful. The one thing, though, that I have seen is that the body still acts as if it needs to get the sugar that you promised it. And let me say what I mean. So you consume something and you sweeten it with a artificial sweetener. And the body's waiting for certain things to happen, certain excitement that you get when you actually have something that's sweet, but you didn't really give it that sugar that it's looking for. So what you do is you wind up taking that sugar someplace else. You don't even realize you're doing it. You start nibbling here and nibbling there, and eventually you give the body the sugar that it's been craving. So people say that those individuals that take a lot of artificial sweeteners, whether it's sucralose or NutraSweet or saccharin, that eventually the body makes up for the sugar that you promised it.
You know, so fun. I was reading something about saccharin. I remember when I was growing up, it was eliminate saccharin from your diet. And then I just read something recently that said, if I recall, that is not necessarily true. That saccharin is not bad for you.
It's not.
Can you clear that up? So it's not.
I mean, saccharin is not, it's not a great sweetener and has a terrible
True.
aftertaste, but people have been using saccharin for years, and they've been trying to say that it's causes. I remember there was bladder cancer, and there was this, and there was that. It didn't do any of that. And again, we all have to be aware of when we're being manipulated by different markets. Everybody wants to sell you something. And they want to sell you something so that they're going to make you buy or not buy something else.
Yes.
The artificial sweeteners are definitely the lesser evil of the things that are out there. But what should we be doing? We should be using natural sweeteners like sugar and honey, and just not using a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, stevia. Stevia is actually a natural sweetener.
What is stevia? I never heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, stevia, it comes from a plant, and it's a plant leaf that's naturally sweet, and it is what we call a sugar alcohol. So it doesn't cause all of the metabolic things that sugars cause. And you can use it in coffee and tea and drinks. They're putting it in drinks now. So I believe the chemical name is erythritol. So it's good, and it's not an artificial.
Now is it true
sweetener.
that some of, and I could be wrong, some of the artificial sweeteners, well, I don't know if it's artificial sweeteners or not, but they're made from fruits, like
Sucralose is made from fruits.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's heard before. Okay.
Now, one other thing before we go to break, as far as restaurants, because we said that, we want to cut this out as much as possible, but we don't always have access to the ingredients list when we eat out at certain places. So what can an individual do, or is there a way to get this information as far as what are the contents of the food that you're eating?
I think restaurants are difficult. Fast food places, you have no hope. You just don't. Fast food
because they're a part of that big agriculture, big food industry.
But I would say that if you go to any decent restaurant, they don't want to use that stuff. They want to use real sugar. I mean, they want to use real honey, and they want to use maple syrup. I mean, they pride themselves on what they're preparing. So I think that if you have a pie that's made in the back, it's going to be made from real sugar. It's going to be made from real ingredients. The thing is the condiments. The condiments, you just have to look at the label, and then you can, if you mention something, if enough people mention it to a restaurant person, they're going to change.
Yes, true story.
I mean, pickle relish. I love relish. Sweet relish. High fructose corn syrup. Killed me.
You had to cut it out.
Had to cut it out, but actually I found a brand, I won't mention it, but I found a brand that
satisfied your cravings.
You
Excellent. So that's what we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, when we get back, is sort of how to change up our behavior so that we can cut this stuff out. It can be challenging, but I think all of our listeners out there are up to that challenge. So we're going to get into that next. You, ladies and gentlemen, are listening to Health in Harlem on WHCR 90.3 FM. This is your last chance to call in with any questions, comments, or concerns about tonight's show. Once again, the number to the studio is 212-650-6903. That is 212-650-6903. And I also have open our Facebook page, so you can leave your questions there as well, and we will do our best to answer them. I know, I'm going to try. But this is important. This announcement is important. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
The world-famous Apollo Theater celebrates and reflects on its place in Black history during its annual open house weekend, Saturday, February 6th and Sunday, February 7th. On Saturday, February 6th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., it's The Arts and Activism, featuring film and music presentations honoring legendary Apollo artists and activists such as James Brown, Nina Simone, and more. Co-hosted by Gary Bird, Bob Slade, and Billy Mitchell. On Sunday, February 7th at 2 p.m., it's the screening of The Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. This documentary is presented by the Apollo, Firelight Media, Independent Lens, 13, and PBS. The Apollo Theater Open House Weekend, February 6th and 7th. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, visit apollotheater.org. Special thanks to all those who made donations in support of our 30th anniversary in 2016. Your WHCR 90.3 FM membership cards are in the mail, but you don't have to wait until 2016 to use them. The following businesses will give discounts to patrons who present them. Calabar Imports, located at the corner of Frederick Douglass Boulevard and 134th Street in Harlem. For hours and information, call 646-964-5062. Carol's Uptown Hair Design, located at Adam Clayton Power Jr. Boulevard between 146 and 147th Street. Call 212-491-6879 for hours and information. Cohen's Fashion Optical, located on the corner of 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. You can reach them at 212-996-2676. Compton Eye Associates, located at 4738 Broadway between Sherman Avenue and Dungan Place in Washington Heights. You can reach them at 646-661-7615. Figs Barbershop, located at Frederick Douglass Boulevard near 135th Street. You can reach them at 646-509-8580. And Key Energy Center, located at 13 West 122nd Street between Malcolm X Boulevard and Mount Morris Park West in Harlem. Must call 646-329-6727 for an appointment. For more information about businesses that accept the WHCR 90.3 FM membership card, visit our website at www.whcr.org.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed time for healing. I'm Maurice Selby, MD.
And this is Sean Shivers, MPA.
And tonight we have Dr. Joan Culpeper Morgan, MD. She is the chief of gastroenterology at Harlem Hospital Center. And we are talking about the danger/evils, the devil 666 high fructose corn syrup, and how we can cut this out of our diets and why you need to do that. So speaking of healing, we did talk about ways in which we can do this. Now, Dr. Culpeper Morgan, you said with the sweet relish, for instance, it was so difficult to leave that stuff on the shelf. So how can we effectively cut this stuff out? And should we do it cold turkey? Should we take the gradual approach? What are alternatives?
I always take the gradual approach. I try to educate my patients and then give them the proper options. And it's never easy to change anything like all at once. I don't know anybody that's got that much money that they can go into their closets and their cupboards and their refrigerator and throw out everything and start all over again. Okay, so I think we start with the next time we go to the food market. And we start reading labels. We start with what we drink, because we know that the highest volume of sugar that we consume comes from what we drink. So I tell everybody, rethink your drink. Water is the best. water or tea or coffee. But if you're going to drink something that's sweetened, look on the label and see what it's sweetened with. If it's sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, put it back and pick something else.
Now,
And I want to tell you something. There are some soft drinks. There are some sodas out there that are now being made that are sweetened with regular sugar. So the soft drink industry has heard the message of America, so they're changing. Okay,
Or changing back.
they're changing back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
awesome. And as far as, because sometimes I feel like you might want to give in. So is it okay to give in occasionally to, if you want to put ketchup on your burger and you're at a restaurant?
Absolutely. We can't ask for perfection. We can't ask for perfection. And sometimes you just I remember Oprah said on one of her shows, sometimes you just need a little bread. Sometimes you just have to get that biscuit, put some butter on it,
And enjoy it.
Call it a day. But I think that we have to just be mindful of what we're doing. It's you have to start thinking of it like alcohol. You don't drink every day.
Yes, that's right.
You don't drink all the time.
And you don't binge drink. You
Right.
shouldn't binge drink.
But every once in a while you may, have a cocktail or this or that or a couple of cocktails, but you're aware of it. And then you're gonna modulate it and you're gonna balance it over time. But this is something that you really want to detox from and get it out of your body and get used to the sweetness, because I'll tell you, high fructose corn syrup is very, very sweet, and when you switch back, you will notice the food doesn't taste as sweet, and so you'll put more sugar into your
Interesting.
coffee or into your drink to make it as sweet as it was.
Because that's what you're used to. You've
That's-
been used to for so long.
That's what you're used to.
So what about parents and children? Because this is what I can see, as adults, we can be very conscious and
Right.
sort of think ahead as far as the consequences of what we're doing day to day. But children don't want to hear that.
Right.
They want the sweetest stuff imaginable, some things that taste good. How do we...
But parents have to be very careful with that. They have to be careful with reinforcing, you do something good, you get something sweet, or you don't do something bad, you don't get something sweet. We can't tie sugar to rewards. It has to be that young people realize that they should be eating and that they should be drinking things that are not so sweet. So it can't be all the time candy and cakes and cookies, and that can't be all the time. So if we've already set the kid up like that, then we've already lost the battle, because you can't take it away once you've said you've been a good boy. So now you get a piece of pie. So that's a problem.
And one thing I'll mention also too is that education is the key, because going back a couple of years when we first start talking about high fructose corn syrup, I know a lot of people who tuned into the show who didn't even know what high fructose corn syrup was, or that it was in so many different food items. So, and as you said before, is that if you don't know, how can you
how can you make decisions
or make decisions when you don't even know that it's even there?
So where are people getting other information from regarding this? Like, what other resources are out there? How is the word sort of spreading, and what can an individual listening to this show do to get the word out?
I think that people should take notice of the fact that there are foods now that specifically tell you in big bold letters, no high fructose corn syrup. And look for those foods and look for those companies and support those companies, because I always say you vote with your pocketbook. You see what companies are doing the right thing, and then you support those companies. the high fructose corn syrup bandwagon I've chosen because I think it's the single food item that can make the most difference in the diet and the health of the community.
So not talking about the artificial sweeteners or other things but this substance, this one substance can be the difference.
Right. And if you concentrate on that, because I think when we give dietary advice, it gets complicated for people. It's like, fats and carbs and proteins and
this is how much you need a day, and your weight,
and it's just so much. But I'm telling you, look for one thing: high fructose corn syrup or HFCS. Sometimes they don't put the whole word; they just put the initials. You look for that, and if it's there, you don't eat it, and that's simple. That's simple. And I'm not saying that you have to be crazy about it and just run away, but be aware and start making the choices.
And one thing I definitely say is that I knew about high fructose corn syrup. I knew what it was, but you gave a seminar going back to first time I ever saw you, like back in 2008 in the auditorium, and you was going about what high fructose corn syrup does to the body, and my jaw just dropped. I was like, I did not know, and a lot of people didn't know. And
the food industry would say, "Oh, it's just like sugar. It's not that much different." It's different enough that a whole nation is becoming obese. The rest of the world laughs at us, laughs at Americans. But then bring it down to this community, and Black Americans are the most obese of all Americans. So we have to grab onto whatever little bits of information that we have. So I'm hoping that, with this show, that some people will say, okay, I'm going to take this one thing, I'm going to go to my supermarket, I'm going to read the label, and if I see this stuff in there, I'm going to put it back, and I'm going to look for something else. I'm going to make another choice.
I'm with you on that, for real. I mean, this is a heavy show, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we definitely have to thank Dr. Culpepper Morgan for joining us tonight and sharing this information.
She's always teaching us.
Always teaching us.
The same topic,
preaching.
But new information.
For real.
Always a pleasure.
And you're more than welcome to come back and join us again. You know that, right? Of course. Talking about high fructose corn syrup and other topics, especially in gastroenterology, because there's a lot going on there, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to get into. But thank you once again. And I also want to thank my man Sean Shivers.
Always my brother. And everybody, make sure you tune in next month. It is Heart and Dental Month for February. And our title is going to be American Heart Month. Heart defects, we're going to have Dr. Damien Karan on the show. And keeping a healthy heart, that's going to be the topic next week, so make sure you tune in.
Ooh, good shows in tandem. I like that. High fructose corn syrup, healthy heart.
Correct.
Cutting that stuff out. So cut out the high fructose corn syrup. I can tell you that. You got a little advanced advice on next week's show. Cut out the high fructose corn syrup. That's one definite way to a healthier heart. Also, we want to thank Ayanna Cole. Although she could not be here tonight, we definitely want to thank her for her commitment to the show, and she will get an A. I'm not worried about her. She is going to do excellent. We want her to study hard. We also thank you, the listening audience, for tuning in to Health in Harlem, and we also thank Nancy Simmons and Valerie Wright. They're our producers, and we would not have wonderful guests like Dr. Culpepper Morgan if it were not for them. Ladies and gentlemen, you have Vinny B in the Vinny B Showcase coming up next. This show is dedicated to the memory of Miss Gloria Thomas. Harlem, take care of yourself.
Healing.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Righteous, can't you see the sign of the time we're living in? Got to use it every day. It's what we need today. Whoa. We got to use it every day. It's what we need today. Wisdom and knowledge will guide you through. Don't you be the devil tool. No, you can't guide a people without a vision. You shall surely go astray. The Bible can teach you wisdom, whether you wise or you dumb. An elder can teach you wisdom, whether you're old or you're young. Oh, wisdom, oh, wisdom, oh, wisdom. Only a fool trust in his own eye and disregard correction. You got to be humble, free from anger, and your days shall be low. You gotta use every day. It's what we need today. You gotta use it, yeah. Every day. It's what we need today. Whoa. Oh, wisdom. Whoa. All right now. Oh, wisdom. Hey.
Fellow citizens of Africa, I greet you in the name of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League of the World. As you are aware, the world in which we live today is divided into separate race groups and distinct nationalities. Each race and each nationality is endeavoring to work out its own destiny to the exclusion of other races and other nationalities. We hear the cry of England for the Englishman, of France for the Frenchman, of Germany for the German, of Ireland for the Irish, of Palestine for the Jew, of Japan for the Japanese, of China for the Chinese. We of the Universal Negro Improvement Association are raising the cry of Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. The great problem of the Negro for the last 500 years has been that of disunity. No one or no organization ever succeeded in uniting the liberate.
Enslave us was done for 300 years, the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men, you can shackle the feet of men, you can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men. Chant it down, chant it down. Words from Marcus Messiah Gabby. Words, sound and power. They do not know what we are capable of. They do not know what we are thinking. They're thinking in terms of dreadnoughts, battleships, aeroplanes, submarines. You know what we're thinking about? That is our own private business. Chant them down. Chant them down. Words from Marcus Messiah Gabby. Words, sound and power. Black men of Carthage, black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt. Because classes, nations, races have been quite for over 4 centuries. Who was merely born of use, insult, humiliation, whose forbearance can only be compared to the prophet Job, as likewise lifted his bowed head and raised it up to God's skies and cried out, I am a man, and demand a man's chance and a man's treatment in this world. But I shall teach the black man, I shall teach the black man to see beauty in his own kind and stop bleaching his skin and otherwise looking like what he's not. African freedom, African freedom.